So, a synonym for domicile was what word did you use?
Domicile.
No, I said a synonym for it.
Oh, lived.
Right. So they lived in the northern part of the county. Okay, good job.
They did little, but enough to be discussed by the town and publicly warned from 3 pulpits. They hung around the barbershop. They rode on the bus to Abbotsville on Sundays and went to the picture show. They attended dances at the country's Riverside Gambling.
What is that? Slow down.
Counties.
You need to read what's there. You're moving too fast. So just read what's there. Slow down.
At the county's Riverside Gambling hell, the Dewdrop Inn and fishing camp. They experimented with stump hole whiskey. Nobody in Macomb had a nerve to tell Mr. Radley that his boy was in with the wrong crowd.
So, do you know what stump hole whiskey is?
No.
Do you know what whiskey is?
Yes.
What is whiskey?
Beer and alcohol.
Yes. So now you're done, huh?
Yes.
Okay. One night, in an excessive spurt of high spirits, the boys backed around the square in a borrowed flivver, resisted arrest by Macomb's ancient beadle, Mr. Connor, and locked them in the courthouse outhouse. Do you know what an outhouse is?
No.
An outhouse is where the bathroom used to be before they had indoor bathrooms. So it's like a little, not even a house. It's like a little closet with a toilet in it. And some of them had just a hole in the ground. Okie doke.
Okay then.
All right. The town decided something had to be done. Mr. Connors said he knew who each and every one of them was, and he was bound and determined they wouldn't get away with it. So the boys came before the probate judge and charges of disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, assault and battery, and using abusive and profane language in the presence and hearing of a female. So apparently, using bad words in front of a woman could get you put in jail.
Okay then.
The judge asked Mr. Connor why he included the last charge. Mr. Connor said they cussed so loud he was sure every lady in Macomb heard them. The judge decided to send the boys to the state industrial school, where boys were sometimes sent for no other reason than to provide them with food and decent shelter. It was no prison, and it was no disgrace. Mr. Radley thought it was. If the judge released Arthur, Mr. Radley would see to it that Arthur gave no further trouble, knowing that Mr. Radley's word was his bond. The judge was glad to do so. The other boys attended industrial school and received the best secondary education to be had in the state. One of them eventually worked his way through engineering school at Auburn. The doors of the Radley house were closed on weekdays as well as Sundays, and the Radley's boy was not seen again for 15 years. But there came a day, barely within Jim's memory, when Boo Radley was heard from and was seen by several people, but not by Jim. He said Atticus never talked much about the Radleys. When Jim would question him, Atticus's only answer was for him to mind his own business and let the Radleys mind theirs. They had a right to. But when it happened, Jim and Atticus shook his head and said, So, Jim received most of his information from Miss Stephanie Crawford, and Miss Stephanie Crawford, a neighborhood scold who said she knew the whole thing. According to Miss Stephanie, Boo was sitting in the living room cutting some things from the Macomb Tribune to paste in his scrapbook. His father entered the room. As Mr. Radley passed by, Boo drove the scissors into his parents' leg, pulled them out, wiped them with his pants, and resumed his activities. Mrs. Radley ran screaming into the street that Arthur was killing them all. But when the sheriff arrived, he found Boo still sitting in the living room, cutting up the Tribune. He was 33 years old then. So his name is what? What do they call him?
Boo.
Boo. But what is his real name? Did you catch that at all?
No, I didn't.
Arthur. Arthur Radley. Okay. Miss Stephanie said, "Oh, Mr. Radley said no Radley was going to any asylum when it was suggested that a season in Tuscaloosa might be helpful to Boo." Boo wasn't crazy. He was high-strung at times. It was all right to shut him up, Mr. Radley conceded, but insisted that Boo not be charged with anything. He was not a criminal. The sheriff hadn't the heart to put him in jail alongside Negroes. So Boo was locked in the courthouse basement. Boo's transition from the basement to back home was nebulous in Jim's memory. Miss Stephanie Crawford said some of the town council told Mr. Radley that if he didn't take Boo back, Boo would die of mold from the damp. Besides, Boo could not live forever on the bounty of the county. Nobody knew what form of intimidation Mr. Radley employed to keep Boo out of sight, but Jim figured that Mr. Radley kept him chained to the bed most of the time. Atticus said no. It wasn't the sort of thing that there were other ways of making people into ghosts. Let's see. We'll do one more paragraph. My memory came along to see Mrs. Radley occasionally open the front door, walk to the edge of the porch, and pour water on her cannas. I think that's a type of flower too. But every day, Jim and I would see Mr. Radley walking to and from town. He was a thin, leathery man with colorless eyes, so colorless they did not reflect light. His cheekbones were sharp, and his mouth was wide, with a thin upper lip and full lower lip. Miss Stephanie Crawford said he was so upright he took the word of God as his only law, and we believed her because Mr. Radley's posture was ramrod straight. Alrighty, mister.
Okay.
So, what happened today?
They're talking about Jen and Atticus and Murray about Boo Radley and everything.
You need to come over here.
What happened with him?
Say that again now.
Like they're having their memory of like what happened to Boo Radley and like the things that happened in the past.
Right. So what happened with Boo? What was the thing that sent him to the Macomb County jail basement, or the Macomb County basement, whatever it was?
Because he stabbed his father in his
Where?
leg with.
Where?
In his leg.
In his leg with what?
Scissors.
Scissors.
I don't know.
So, and they told him he needed to come out of the basement because why?
He would die of the mold.
Of the mold. So where'd they put him?
What was it? I forgot. No, I think they took him home.
Right. They took him home. So now we find him at home And instead of they brought him home because they didn't want him to go where? Do you understand where they were trying to send him?
An asylum?
Yes, an asylum. Okay. So, wow. So they started to describe Mr. Radley, who is very slim, has colorless eyes, and fears God. Okay. So tomorrow we'll see what else they're going to tell us about Boo Radley and the Radleys.
Right.
Alrighty. So
stay tuned for the mystery.
I don't cough myself out of being with you. All right. So this is day number 3 of our Mockingbird Project. And it is officially bedtime. So we will see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Alrighty. Good night.
Good night.